Macklin went to Wilde's cabin over the lightly heaving floor of the Quest, and Wilde was awake. He was sitting by his table drinking from a dirty glass, scratching his beard with a heavy look in his face. "What is it, Mac?" Wilde asked. His hair was straggly lying over the bald head. "Has something happened?" "Yes," Macklin replied. She had been like an old friend, like a beloved comrade who had long been ill and failing. They had known that she would die, but patiently they had watched over her twisted body. In the horizon she had been, a wreck, but still alive. But now it was all over. The ice opened its mouth, and the Endurance sank. All that was left of her was a patch of open water that slowly covered with frost. Shackleton removed the binoculars and turned to face the men. He turned to face the little frozen group thrown out upon the ice. "She's gone, boys," he said. Hussey always used to smile, a little jester with jokes in his eyes. But now he was sitting with a frowned face, leaning against his silent banjo. Green, who used to wander about around his saucepans with a shrewd little grin on his lips, was grey and cold. McIlroy, the other surgeon, the handsome charmer, had no beauty in his face. Kerr, the reticent one, pulled his coat around him and hid his eyes in the collar, and MacLeod stroked his big beard. He was a superstitious old sailor, and he could feel the unbelievability. Wilde was without words in a corner. Empty was his chest, as if a part of his own heart had died. The grey-blue eyes were pale. On his shoulder was a heavy leadership to be carried. Worsley said, "We have to send him home. There's a ship going north in a few days." His dreamy eyes of adventure had fallen to the ground. The others nodded. "I'll go with him," Hussey replied. "There's no point in doing this journey, not any more. I'll go with him to England and make sure that everything is properly taken care of." "Yes, everything has to be properly taken care of," McIlroy mumbled. "And there is something that needs to be done. People will ask questions, and we must have correct answers. What I mean is, we must have a post-mortem performed." Nobody said anything. The room was sickly cold, colder than it had been on the ice and on the roaring Antarctic sea ever. Nobody moved. Nobody wanted to think. Nobody could speak. Everybody sat motionless, except from one. Macklin rose. "I'll do it," he said. "By God, Mac!" McIlroy exclaimed. "There are other doctors." But Macklin shook his head. "I'll do it," he said. "I want to do it. I'd rather do it myself than have some stranger do it. And I think he would have liked it that way." "By God, Mac," McIlroy whispered and leant his face in his hand. But Macklin was sure. He walked over the deck floor with echoing steps and went in through the door to Shackleton.